Hey, this is Rob Value. It's time for a bit of garden philosophy. There's more rabbits. Yeah. So there's a lot of confusion going on about all this atheist, theist, agnostic, gnostic business. People mean different things by different words. As long as you all agree what the words mean, that's what's important. It's when people don't acknowledge that you're using a different word for the same thing, and they continue to make out they've got some kind of point when actually they're just using a different word. That's when it's really stupid and irritating. So let's say I was going to tell you something, and you've got to decide if you think it's true, right? Okay. Do you think it's true? Well, unless you're incredibly gullible, you'll say, well, no, I don't think it's true. I don't believe it's true because I don't know what it is, so I can't possibly know if it's true. So, you say, no, I don't believe that it's true. I don't yet believe it's true. So, does that mean you think it's false? No. Unless you're extremely cynical, you're not going to automatically assume it's false either. You would go in with an open mind, hopefully. So that means you haven't decided either way. You haven't decided if it's true or if it's false. You haven't got an opinion. So that's called the default position. It's where you start before you've had any information. So then I tell you what it is I'm claiming. Whether or not I'm telling the truth isn't even important. A lot of people get hung up on this. It's a matter of what I'm saying, is it true or not? I might think it's true, but it might actually not be true. So you've got to consider what I'm actually saying, not just am I telling the truth. So once you've heard what I've got to say, I'll say, there's a bloke down the road who lives in a red house and he's called Jim. Okay, do you believe me? Well, you could just take my word for it, but you haven't actually got any evidence that it's true. So you say, well, I don't believe you yet. I go, what are you saying? Are you saying you're saying it's false? So no, it's not saying that either. I just haven't got enough information to make a reasonable decision about it. I can't say I believe it, and I don't disbelieve it. So, until you've got enough evidence to make a decision, you're still in that default position. Now, if I say I've got a baseball, and you say, where's your evidence for this? And I'll show you a baseball, then that's reasonable evidence. Oh yeah, you're right, you have got one. And if I say, here's my baseball, and then I don't show it to you, you'd be like, okay, so where's the baseball? And you say, well, I've got one, I'm just not going to show it to you. Do you believe me? You say, well, no, I haven't got any evidence to suggest that you have. And you go, what, you're saying I haven't got one? No, I'm not saying that either. So, by saying you don't yet believe something, it doesn't mean that you believe it's false. That's a completely different thing. So, if someone says something to you, you should ask for evidence that it's true, unless it's something really mundane you don't care about. If they don't provide any evidence, then it's fair enough to just say, well, we're done then, You don't have to go any further than that. Just come back when you've got some evidence. Simple as that. Don't have to try and find out whether it's wrong or not. If you haven't given me any reason to think it's right, I can just forget it. Done. You don't have to worry about every crazy thing anyone ever says. But we could take it further. So we look at the claim and we say, is it true? Well, we haven't got any evidence that it's true. We could say, well, have we got any reason to think it's actually not true? Now, that's a separate question. And you go, well, actually, the thing you're telling me is quite ridiculous. You're saying there's a dragon living in your garage. Well, I've never seen a dragon before. No one has, as far as I'm concerned. You've got a very small garage, so it has to be a tiny dragon. And I was just in your garage a minute ago and I didn't see anything. So, I've got a lot of evidence to suggest that this is actually false. So it'd be reasonable for me to say, actually, not only do I not believe you, but I actually believe this is false. Now, that's a further position. And, the more outlandish the claim, the more reasonable it is to say, well, that's probably not true. If someone's making a claim that's massively out of the ordinary and not giving you any reason to think it's true, then why should you? Why should you think that it even might be true? You've only got a certain amount of time to deal with things, so you're going to act as if it's not true. You're going to act as if there isn't a dragon in the garage. Okay? You could say, well, I don't have belief either way, but it's reasonable to come to a belief like that there probably isn't a dragon in the garage. And any open-minded person will say, if you've got more evidence to present, I'll reconsider my position then. So when it comes to the God question, to start with, someone says there's a God, do you believe that? So the default position is to say, I don't believe that that's true, and I also don't believe that it's false. And that is actually called weak atheism, because it's saying you don't believe in the God claim, so you're a theist, you're not a theist. So a theist is someone who does believe in the God claim, but you're not saying that you believe you've dismissed it either. So you're in the middle, and that's the default position, is weak atheism. Now, if you went further and say, I've looked at all the evidence and I've decided that this claim is actually quite ridiculous and it contradicts what I know, and what you're suggesting, there should be quite a lot of evidence for it, and then there's none. So I've actually got a fair number of reasons to think that actually this might be false. So I could assume, okay, this is probably false. So people get mixed up between weak atheism and agnostic. They go, well, if you're not sure, that's agnostic. Agnostic is to do with knowledge, not to do with belief. You can believe there's a God and be agnostic, because you can say, I'm not absolutely sure. I can't say I know for sure, but I believe there is. And in the same way, you can say, I believe there isn't, but I don't know for sure. I believe there isn't, but this is the kind of thing that you could say you can't know for sure. There's just no way of testing it, no way of finding out. So either way, you can be a strong atheist and believe there isn't one and still be agnostic, and you can be a theist and still be agnostic. If you're a weak atheist, it's redundant to say you're agnostic, because you haven't got a belief either way. So if you haven't got a belief, you can't make any claims of knowledge, because you're not even saying you believe anything. So saying that's agnostic is redundant. I think some people just don't like the word atheist. They assume it means you've gone to strong atheism and saying that you don't think there is such a thing as a God. And the thing is, the word God is such a loose word. It can mean almost anything. So really, for me, it comes down to asking each person, what do you even mean by that? What do you mean? I don't know. Do you mean an intelligent creator? Is that it? Can we stop there? Right? Yes, we can stop there. Okay. I've got no opinion about that. Okay. I've got no opinion whether this reality is all there is, or whether bouncy buddy, or whether this was created by something. And if it was created by something, could it be an intelligent being? Sure. From my point of view, it looks all the same. I've got no way of knowing it's true, no way of knowing it isn't true. It would just be an unnecessary assumption. I don't need to assume that is the case. It might be a case, it might not. It's not completely outlandish and ridiculous. So I'll say I'm undecided. I'm a weak atheist with regard to that God, the generic deistic style. It doesn't have to be anything magic. It could just be like a computer programmer who's made a computer program that's come to life. People go, well, that isn't the God. Yeah, well, that's because you've got preconceptions about what that word means. This is why you have to ask everyone what they mean. So just a sensible one, without all the bells and whistles, weak atheist. You start saying, and it's the best at everything. It's got all the power. It can do anything it wants. It knows everything. It's like, well, okay. The more things you say about it, the less likely it is this is real, because you're making it more and more specific. It's like, well, how do you know any of this? It's like, yeah, well, it created the universe. That's it, right? And it's the author of morality. It's like, well, what does that even mean? The more things you say about it, the more conditions there are, the more specific your claim is becoming. So the less likely it is a real thing. And so you're putting more pressure on yourself to present evidence. So then you say, where's your evidence of this? I haven't got any. Well, it's more reasonable to think that's probably not true. It's one thing to say there might be a creator. It's another thing to have its inside leg measurement, or know what it thinks about pancakes, or that it gets really worried about people wanking for some reason. It's a really big deal. So, so just a general Christian-style God, just a Yahweh thing. I say, well, I believe that that's not real. It's a cartoon character. I believe it's fictional. But then if you're going to say it's exactly as written in the Bible as well, I can go further. I can go, well, it's not even consistent. It's not even possible that thing can exist, because it doesn't even agree with itself. It couldn't exist because it would contradict itself. So I can go further and say, like, I'm not only am I a strong atheist, I'm a gnostic atheist against that, because I know it can't exist. So if something did turn up, it wouldn't be the same as what's in that book, but that would be impossible. Yeah. Whereas if you say, well, I think God is the universe, I'll go, all right, well, I'm a theist compared to that claim. Yeah.